to another Instagram live. Today is with a gentleman called Paul Freeman. So I'm just going to wait for a couple of people to come on. Hello. Hello. So just another couple of minutes, but let's wait for Paul to come on. Thank you for joining me once again. How are we all? Are we all doing okay? Give me a thumbs up if you're all okay. So today's interview is with a gentleman called Paul Freeman. So I am just going to wait a couple of moments for him to come on. Hello, hello, hello. Good. Is the connection all okay? You can see me, you can hear me. Okay. Okay, so here he is. So today's interview is with a gentleman called Paul Freeman. So I'm just going to invite him in. All good to go? Perfect. Thank you all for joining me once again. Now let's invite him in. All the way from Australia. Lovely. Hello, Paul.
Hi, hiya.
All
Yeah,
good?
good, thank you. Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. Right, so thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Whereabouts are you from?
So if you can't tell from my accent, quite northern, not far from Blackpool.
Oh, okay. So Northern England.
Yeah.
Perfect. So for anyone that hasn't watched the Instagram lives before, what the purpose is for me to bring on other survivors to talk about their stories. So as many of you know, my slogan is to amplify the voices of others, and this is basically the purpose of it. So down below is a gentleman called Paul. So Paul, would you mind just introducing yourself to everybody and saying hello?
Yep, so hi everyone listening. Yeah, I mean, my background, from what I believe, is quite similar to yours, just, and completely unexpected, really. Started initially with a chest infection, and one thing led to another, really, and literally after kind of 2 weeks of different antibiotics, it very quickly turned into double pneumonia, and then that led to sepsis. It's been an absolute nightmare ever since.
I know. Obviously, prior to the interview, I did ask you to send over a brief description of your experience.
Yeah.
And when I was reading it, I was thinking, okay, this is really similar to what I went through. And I know when my mum watches this back, when she gets back from work, she will say the same. So just started with a chest infection. So had you never had one before? Or?
No, that's the thing, you know, up until that point, I'd always been reasonably healthy. And it kind of, I suppose, because I was working from home, I'd changed jobs, I'd become my own boss, set my own business up, and I was working from home. And there were some issues with the heating and things. Obviously, I won't go into detail about all that, but there were some issues with the heating. One thing led to another. And I don't know, it started off with a bit of a cough, and it just become a persistent cough that just wouldn't go away. And I literally went through bottles and bottles of cough medicine. Nothing made a blind bit of difference. And it got to a point where it got so bad, I went to the doctors. And I mean, it sounds like this was a long time ago, but I'm still struggling with the after effects now. You know, this was at the end of 2017. And so by October 2017, I was feeling really ill. Went to the doctors. They put me on antibiotics. Said, it looks like you've got a chest infection, which I've never had anything like that before. I've never smoked or anything, you know, or anything that could cause any sort of chest-related issues. And so after a week of antibiotics, it hadn't made a blind bit of difference. I felt worse, if anything. Went back to my GP. He gave me a second course of antibiotics, a different brand, different make. But by this time, we were getting towards Christmas 2017, And after the second lot of antibiotics, I was still feeling really, really ill. And it got to a point where I literally dragged myself through Christmas that year. You know, I can still remember Christmas Day. You know, I wasn't drinking alcohol or anything like that. I was just feeling really, really ill. Got me through Christmas Day and Boxing Day. I just felt like I was about to die or something. You know, I just felt really, really ill. Obviously, I couldn't see a doctor. And I mean, looking back now, I probably should have rung 111 or 999 or something sooner, but I didn't think to do that. You know, I just thought, well, I've got a chest infection and I just need better medication to, you know, to fix it. And so, day after Boxing Day, managed to get an emergency appointment with my doctor. I was literally in the consulting room for not even 5 minutes. You know, I did a couple of quick tests. My temperature was 42. You know, my oxygen levels were really low. And he says, I think you've got pneumonia. So he says, I'll ring the hospital in advance to tell them that you come in. He says, I can either get you an ambulance or you can get someone to take you, but you need to go now. So he sent me up to the hospital with a letter, and he'd called in advance and everything. And looking back, I'm not going to blame anyone, but looking back, maybe things could have been done differently. You know, it's bad enough the fact that I was told once I'd been seen that I've got double pneumonia, so I had it in both lungs, and it was pretty bad. That was bad enough, but they kept me waiting for absolutely ages in the waiting room, and I don't know whether, you know, that's how the sepsis developed, or whether it was just because the infection was so bad with the pneumonia that I was going to get sepsis anyway. But then once they did them through all the A&E stuff, X-rays and various things, they said, look, you know, you've got sepsis. And I didn't know what sepsis was at the time, you know, and the closest I thought was, I think I explained on some of the notes I'd sent you, was thinking, you know, it sounds like septicemia, blood poisoning. It was something like, you know, at school you was always told, you know, don't stab yourself with a pencil or something, you'll get bled and blood poisoning. I just thought it was something like that. I'm thinking, well, how have I got this? You know, I've not cut myself, and, you know, how can I have this? But to be honest, by this point, then I was under so much medication and various things, most of my time there was a complete blur. You know, they took me for X-rays, DCGs, all these various things. And by now it's middle of the night. They put me into an isolation room, told me that they had to wait for a senior doctor to come on board. They'd had to call someone because the amount of medication I needed was higher than that they could authorise, which that was bad them telling me that. You know, I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on here. I just remember being put on oxygen and all these different masks and things. And, you know, eventually, to be fair, it's probably 2 days later, because the first sort of few days I had no clue what was going on. It was, you know, quite hazy. A couple of days later, I remember asking a nurse, because by this point I'm still in a specialist unit at the side of A&E. I wasn't even moved to Wood. I was that bad. And this nurse, I said, you know, what's happening? I don't know what sepsis is. I've kind of managed to, on my mobile, Google a few things, and that made things worse then, because, you know, I'm reading it's all life-threatening and cellular. And but I do remember that the nurse basically said to me, because it was a Wednesday where I got taken in, and I'll never forget it. You know, she said, if you want to come on that Wednesday, then, you know, and you just stayed at home or whatever, we just carried on treating it as a chest infection by the Friday. She says, we wouldn't be able to help you. You know, and that's kind of the background. And obviously I was in hospital for a while. But the thing, like I say, this was end of 2017, beginning of 2018, you know, and we're now where we are today, 2020, and I'm still struggling. You know, I've got chest pains, shortness of breath. Ironically, and this isn't good, I'm kind of not panicking just yet, but I'm worried, is ironically these last few days I've got a chest infection again. And that seriously worries me. I'm back on antibiotics at the moment. You know, and that does worry me a bit.
I can't believe how similar. Honestly, I'm listening to you and I'm just thinking how similar.
Yeah.
our experiences are. Obviously, you know, you can tell that you're not feeling right, because you have said to me that you've got a persistent cough, haven't you?
You know, I've had this cough ever since, and I've been backwards and forwards to hospitals. You know, at one point, some guy said, "Oh, you've got a bit of pleurisy, but the best you can do is take cough medicine," which didn't sound like a good option. And I said to him, I said, I've tried that many different things. It's ridiculous, you know. I've had lots of CT scans, because the problem is, and it's kind of why I think I found you in the first place, with trying to find some sort of support, because, you know, I'm in various Facebook groups and all these things for sepsis survivors and whatever, but nobody's getting any proper support. You know, it's everyone that I read have all got very similar symptoms to what you've had, to what I've got, you know, and other people. But I don't know. With some of them, I think people are struggling to get some proper help. I mean, it's made worse now by the fact, because we've got coronavirus, everything's kind of being cancelled and shut down. You know, but I mean, I've gone through this now for, you know, a couple of years, and I've keep going back to the hospital and saying, "Look, I've got this chronic cough, and, you know, shortness of breath and weakness on my left hand side and everything." And, you know, I mean, you've seen the adverts, and they say if you've got a cough for more than 2 or 3 weeks, you know, go and see your doctor. And it's like, well, I've done this routine over and over. Ultimately, they've kind of got to a point where now I've had an MRI scan, and they've narrowed it down to saying I've got nerve damage on my left as a result of the sepsis. So that's kind of explaining the chest pains. And I was due, I've signed the consent forms and everything, I was due to have an operation to help with that nerve damage. They were going to numb some of the area.
So
it's been cancelled.
This whole situation at the moment, I'm pretty sure loads of people watching will agree, it is crazy. And, you know, I can sympathise with you on the sense of, with like the anxiety when you do get another chest infection, you do instantly think, oh my God, like,
I don't want to get pneumonia. Yeah.
So I know that earlier, kind of just previously, that you did say you wasn't too sure what sepsis was. So, you know, when you're told that you have that, it does sort of like take you back a little bit, doesn't it? You're kind of like, you know, I was 21 and I was on my own. What kind of support system have you had whilst you was in hospital to come out, and then, you know, with your post sepsis, what kind of support have you had with family, friends,
I mean,
UK Sepsis Trust, or have you had anything?
I haven't. This has been a problem, you know. It's I mean, it's worse now because I feel now completely abandoned. I mean, it's not helping when you know, this coronavirus is respiratory kind of based anyway. I can't go out because if I wear two reasons. If I wear a face mask, I can't breathe, and I'm struggling to breathe anyway. But I wear glasses, so when I wear a face mask, my glasses sting up, so I can't even see it. You know, so let alone the fact that I'm struggling. It's just a nightmare. But my GP has said, well, because of my situation and my continuing health problems, they've said, you know, you don't need to wear a face mask. But that makes a second problem then, because I'm thinking, well, I don't want to catch coronavirus. So my head's telling me that I need to wear one to protect myself, but I can't because it's difficult. So even though technically I'm told I don't need to wear one, I still don't go out. You know, I'm relying on shopping being delivered and various things. I can't go out because I just can't risk it. You know, so I've become kind of a prisoner, really. But what makes it worse?
It's not a nice situation to be in.
No. But it's made worse by the fact that it doesn't help when you know that after the lockdown started getting lifted, you know, you can go to a garden centre or you can go to a car showroom, but I can't go and see my doctor. You know, and so I've kind of felt a bit abandoned. I mean, literally now, because of my chest pains, because obviously my operation for the nerve damage has been cancelled because of coronavirus. and my last respiratory exam at the hospital, that was cancelled. So literally all I'm doing is, it got to a point where probably about 3-4 weeks ago, I was in so much pain with the chest pains and things on my left. I rang 111. And I feel bad doing that because I don't want to waste ambulances and take it away from people that have had a heart attack or a car crash or whatever. But I was just stuck, what do I do? And the problem is, every time you mention you've got chest pains, it's the trigger to automatically ask certain questions in a certain order, and by default, they'll always send you an ambulance. But admittedly, every time the ambulance comes, on the last 2 occasions recently, because my heart rate is so high, and I don't know if that's because of the chest pains or just because of my ongoing health issues, as a result of all this, they end up blue lighting me to A&E. But the problem is, it's the same routine over and over. So I go to A&E, they give me morphine, that settles my chest pains, helps me calm down a bit. And then, 3-4 hours later, they'll send me home. But then tomorrow is another day with the same problem. Tomorrow is another day with chest pains,
You know what?
Just goes around your circles.
I understand how you feel so much in regards to, obviously, I've got a condition called Titsy Syndrome, which is, so you've got costochondritis and then you've got Titsy Syndrome. And they're sharp pains that come round from your spine and they shoot round onto your, I think it's the 3rd rib. And I've had...
Because that's so much about.
I've had it since I was 5. But from the age of 5 to the age of 13, it was left undiagnosed. Nobody knew what it was. I was misdiagnosed. I was told, just, you've pulled your muscle. You've got costochondritis, because costochondritis you can get that by pulling a muscle at the gym, by coughing excessively. You can get costochondritis. But when I was younger, I used to have my pains every single day, and I would buckle over with it, and I would just be crying, excruciating pain, and it was always my 3rd rib, all the time, and this whole area swells up. I still get it today, but I had that even before sepsis, so I was prone to chest infections because I had this underlying condition. So when you said that you get chest pains, I was wondering if you had similar pains to what I have.
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, these pains, they do seem to mostly be on my left, but sometimes they'll kind of, how can I explain it? They kind of spike around from my back. Yeah, well, the thing, generally they're mostly on my left, but sometimes it'll shoot across the middle. And the only way I can describe it, and I've told all the medical people the same thing, the only way to describe it is it feels like it's like a cluster of maybe 5 or 6 needles inside, just very quickly shooting out. But that's kind of like the intermittent pain, but it's just like I've got a constant ache, and it just won't go away.
It's exactly what you're describing is exactly what I've suffered with since I was 5. Again, it was left, and it was completely rare. What I've got is completely rare. So I don't work in medical field, but when you've got a condition that if it is something that you're concerned about, maybe just raise it with them.
You know what I mean, because I've changed GPs 2 or 3 times because it just feels like I'm not getting the help and the support. And I mean, my last GP, he put me on pregabalin, 600 milligrams of pregabalin, which was mostly to treat the chest pains. But because they've got worse, and because it could be anxiety as well, because obviously the coronavirus has made things worse. So I'm literally now on 5 millilitres of morphine a day as well. But the problem is, it just feels like I'm just a walking chemist. I'm just an experiment now. It's just, every day is the same. You get up, you take medication. Because if I don't take medication by mid-morning, then, my cough's bad enough now, but if I don't take morphine, I'm coughing even more. But then I'm getting tired and I can't sleep. And it's just almost like every day is kind of just drifting past, you know.
But obviously, I do recommend the UK Sepsis Trust. I don't know whether you've spoken to them. I don't know whether.
I do get their emails and updates, but I've never really spoken to them.
I would really recommend it. You know, if anyone watching this, can you also recommend the UK Sepsis Trust? Because, you know, they are incredible. Their support system. Ron Daniels who's the CEO of the charity. He is a doctor himself. He's a specialist. You know, they are. I can't thank them enough for the support that I've received from them. So people aren't aware that you can get sepsis for a chest infection. People think it's cuts, grazes, and so tell everyone what have you been doing to raise awareness?
Well, there's a couple of things now, because before I got ill, I'd set up my own business, and initially it was a limited company. I was selling LED lighting, commercial lighting, but that was kind of only because I've got a background in technology. I originally had worked in entertainment and show business and things, and gradually kind of moved along with this technology route. But because this is going back to like 2016, and even back then, I'd done a lot of research, and I realised that, you know, while coronavirus may well have excelled the accelerated things like the death of the high street and things like that, I knew that going forward, digital and working online was going to be, you know, my direction, my route. And so, in a way, I've kind of got proven evidence that is the future. I mean, apart from the fact that, like I said, coronavirus has accelerated it, you know, massively. But even before coronavirus, you know, the high street was suffering because of digital. So I was setting up a digital business. But as I say, obviously I got ill, and everything literally got completely abandoned. I'd shut it all down. But just prior to that, I'd written a book, which I've got on Amazon. I'd written quite a biggish book available in paperback and things, all about my sort of background in commercial sectors, and how I was moving kind of to escape the 9 to 5, if you will. And with the idea at the time was to create a better lifestyle, less hours, you know, more efficiency. Obviously, I wasn't expecting to get ill. But my plan now is that, because I've experienced what I have, and it was literally what I'm treating as a near-death experience, and there's so many people out there desperate for support as well, I'm in the process of planning a new book, and literally taking this as my second chance now to make a difference and change things. You know, even the way when I'm hopefully in a position to restructure my business again, it's going to be a different focus, you know, a different approach. It's going to be more about, how can I put it? My ethos has changed. It's not just a case of making money and making sales and running a business. It's now, you know what, we're all humans. We've only probably got 80 years on average on this planet. We should all be doing what we can to help each other, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen. You know, some people get cancer, some people get run over by a bus, or, you know, or whatever. And I need now, it feels like I need to give something back to help people, even if it's just to recognise the early signs of sepsis or something, you know. And it's like we just said a minute ago, a chest infection doesn't sound serious, you know, but a chest infection, especially coming into autumn and winter and with coronavirus and everything, if a chest infection turns into pneumonia, then, you know, a pneumonia turns into sepsis. It's so literally within hours, you know. And I just feel like I need to do something now to try and help other people realise actually how serious this is.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like you say, it's not just because you get a cut finger or something. This is, you know, if a chest infection can turn into sepsis, then you need to be careful.
Absolutely. You know, I think many of us have that view when you've been through it, that it is your, depending on how serious you've had it, it is your second choice. I know that there's quite a few people on here. I'm just going to go back through some of the messages, because we've had quite a lot of interaction.
You know, the one thing that's probably the most scary is that, you know, the different groups that I've been in and seen and things, the worrying thing is that once you've had sepsis, a lot of people seem to have it more than once.
I've had it
And
twice.
which is why now I've got this new chest infection. You know, I'm sat here wondering, well, what's it going to lead to? You know.
I think as long as you know myself, me and my family knew the signs to look out for.
Yeah.
You know, and if you are concerned, then you do just need to make sure that you contact someone straight away. So we've got here sepsis is under detected. I'm having awareness at my hospital. Well done. People are still learning about sepsis. Absolutely. I never knew such a thing as sepsis existed till yesterday. And there are millions out there who have no idea too. Well, that's what we're trying to change. We're trying to change that.
Yeah, because, you know, just probably about 3-4 months after I'd had sepsis, I remember reading, I don't know if it was online or in a local newspaper, there was a guy in Preston, and he was younger than me. He was like 6-7 years younger than me. And, you know, not that I'm that old, but, you know, but he was younger than me. And he literally had these flu-like symptoms. I mean, this is part of this awareness thing. So he had flu-like symptoms. His wife just thought it was a bad cold, he had flu. She sent him to bed with a Lemsip or something like that. And it turns out he had sepsis. He never woke up. That was it. And because there's so many different symptoms that are similar to flu, you know, some people might call it paranoia, but actually, you know what, you can't take a risk these days. And especially now with this coronavirus.
Not at all. We've got one here saying, I'm one of the lucky ones who survived sepsis. I never knew these groups existed until I met Jes and Caitlin. They have helped me so much. Oh, thank you, Carol. That's very kind. These groups are so supportive, and thank you for doing the interview and raising more awareness. I've learned a lot already through these groups, and I hope you feel better soon. So if you could pass on one message, so it could be as short as you like or as long as you like, to someone that is watching later on when they rewatch this back, or on YouTube, Facebook, and they don't know what sepsis is, what would your one message to that person be?
You know, it's hard work, is this, because the symptoms to look out for are kind of overlapping so many other similar things, you know, like I say, like flu. And in fact, quite often if I go online, I've got symptoms and I'm feeling really bad. The symptoms are so similar to coronavirus. Every time I go through the online thing, it just says, right, ring an ambulance. If I did that, I'd be ringing an ambulance every day. I suppose the message really is that it is taking any symptoms you get that don't feel right. Everyone knows how they feel, you know, and it doesn't matter what somebody might say to you. So, you know, you'll feel fine, you'll get better. You know how you feel, and if you know you don't feel right, you need to, whether it's go to your GP or ring 111 or whatever it is, you need to get help, because the problem with sepsis is that you can't see it, you know. And I mean, look at, you know, me, you know, a chest infection. How can a chest infection turn into sepsis? You know, yeah, I know the pneumonia was obviously the trigger for it, but literally in the space of 2 weeks, you know, I was pretty much close to 48 hours away from being no longer here. And so it happens that quick. And I think this is the thing now, is trying to get people to realise that, you know what, this isn't just you can get a cut on your leg or something, or, you know, anything like that. You can almost get these. I mean, all sepsis is, what I've learned now is sepsis is basically an internal infection where the organs start to fight each other. And so that's the problem. You can't see it. And all I can really say to anyone else now is that, you know yourself, you know how you feel. If you've got underlying issues, hopefully you can tell the difference. But get some help. You know, you can't ignore it. I mean, I've got to this point now where, because of what's happened to me, and I'd had 2 lots of antibiotics, I know that by the middle of this week, if my first lot of antibiotics haven't worked, I'm not going to risk waiting to see if the second lot works. I'll go and get some more help, and yeah, it might look like paranoia, but actually after I've gone through what I've gone through, you can't take the chance, It's hard. It really is hard because do I know you can't see it, But
No,
when we look at me, I've got my chest pains and I'm, struggling on each day. Um, and it's not a quick sort of, like a cold, you get over it after a week or so. I've still got problems 2.5, 3 years later.
yeah, and that is a common thing. I think many that are on here, I know that there's quite a few survivors that are watching, popping in and out. But the good thing with doing these interviews is everyone has a different message.
Yeah.
So, but they're all different, but they all mean the same thing. So everyone words it differently, but it all just comes down to just being aware.
Get help and don't leave it. Yeah.
Get help, be aware, and I say it every time, and I'm going to repeat it again today, is my message is don't leave time, because time is of the essence. With Paul, obviously being 48 hours away from, not being with us anymore, and me being, I think mine was a couple of hours really with my mum. If you leave it, you don't know what the situation's going to be. And not only just be aware for yourself, but be aware for your kids. Know the signs and the symptoms for children as well. That's another key thing. I don't know if anyone's watched the campaign hashtag around the world in 13 days. How many children are there that sadly didn't get to start their life? So, to wrap this up, it's just to be aware, and you've got the World Sepsis Day website that has all of the signs and the symptoms. The UK Sepsis Trust if you live here in the UK. You've got Sepsis Alliance for if you live in the States. You've got Sepsis Africa. You've got the French one. There is support groups out there. It's just knowing about them. And sadly, I don't think many people do know about the support groups and the charities, but they are there. It's just knowing about them. So I would recommend that you spoke to the UK Sepsis Trust. Are amazing. And if you do ever feel like you're struggling, with post-sepsis, whether it's like mentally fatigue, or you just want to talk to somebody, the UK Sepsis Trust, the people there are just, they're incredible. So, if you genuinely feel like you're struggling, I would really recommend them. They are they're the biggest help. They really are. And obviously in comparison to the Facebook groups are amazing because we all get to interact and we all get to meet each other. But ideally, the UK Sepsis Trust are the professionals, and they would be the for anyone watching, if you're struggling, they are the best people to go to. So I think that wraps it up for today.
Thank you.
Have you said everything that you wanted to say? Have you got anything that you want to?
Yeah. I mean, on a bad day, it just sounds like I'm having a right old, whinge and a complaint. But honestly, people, you can't afford to leave it. I'm 3 years after this now, and quite often I can get out of breath just putting my socks on. I'm so exhausted. I'm on a lot of medication. I'm still not right. I've still got respiratory issues, and I've survived, and I'm grateful that I've survived. But you know what? There's days when sometimes it feels like you haven't survived. It's kind of dragging on so much with all these pains and things. All I can say to people is, if you've got anything that you're worried about, go and get checked. Because please don't end up like me. Yeah, I've survived, but I'm still struggling. you know. And yeah,
I think
don't
that's
don't
really
go
important.
and get some help. Yeah, get some help.
Absolutely. It doesn't hurt to get it really doesn't. So don't feel right, you know, learn the signs and symptoms, you know your body, and if there is something that you're unsure of, speak to your GP, or if you're really concerned, you've got the 111 service, they're amazing. Yeah, it's
The one thing I did find a problem with, obviously, once coronavirus had started, trying to get through to 111 was a complete nightmare. And quite often I can remember sort of late March being on hold for like an hour and never getting through. I know there's now a new phone number you can ring if you're worried about coronavirus. So hopefully that has freed up the normal 111 number now. You know, so hopefully people will ring it and use it.
absolutely. You know, they, along with my mum, they saved my life. So when I was sent home and then got home deteriorated, my mum had to ring the 111 service and they were straight there. So, you know, I owe my life to them, really. So for anyone that has missed today's interview at the beginning, don't worry, because they're all saved and they're all posted here on the World Sepsis Day Instagram on the grid. They are also recorded and put onto YouTube as well, on my personal YouTube. You're okay with that, aren't you, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know, and they're on my website as well. So I am going to make you your own little page on my website. So it'll be an interview with Paul Freeman. And if there's anything that you want me to post on there for you, other than this video, please let me know, because it's your own page.
The biggest thing is just raising awareness, you know, just trying to help people prevent getting as far as I did, you know.
Talking about your story, you are raising awareness, and I can't thank you enough.
No, thank you.
And hope, you never know, someone might watch this back or might be watching it and thinking, oh, I didn't know you could get from a chest infection. So, and if they didn't know that and now they do, you telling your story has made a difference. So thank you for talking to me today. I really, really appreciate it, because if people didn't take part in these, they wouldn't.
They'd continue being silent. Yeah.
And it wouldn't happen, and I wouldn't be able to raise the awareness that I do. And I'm just so thankful for your continued support. I know we've been in touch for, I think, a couple of months now, and I'm thankful that you took part in my campaign and had trust in it, and you know, for trusting me with helping you tell your story. It just
Sometimes it's nice to reassure other people that there are others, you know, in similar circumstances, because I know how it feels for me, you know, and you can feel very abandoned by it all. Excuse me, sorry, I'm losing my voice now. But yeah, it's just knowing that there's somebody out there that, you know, knows what you're going through.
Absolutely. And that is the purpose of me being an ambassador, is because I've always said I will amplify all of your voices as much as I can. So if I can continue to do that, then, you know, I've made my little bit of difference, and so have all of you. So yeah, thank you for taking part. And
thank you.
Don't forget to get yourself checked if you're not feeling right.
Absolutely.
All right. I am going to check in on you during the week.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm not going to risk a second lot of antibiotics, not after last time. I know all the signs to look out for now. I know how I feel.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I can't risk getting pneumonia again.
No. So thank you to anyone that is watching, and I've got another interview for you on Friday. I've got Friday with Mike Mahoney, and then on Sunday, which is World Sepsis Day, I've got Melissa Mead. So yeah, they're gonna be emotional, especially Melissa's. Yeah, so I will post the times for that on social media. So if you want to tune in to the interviews, let me know. And yeah, just thank you for watching. Thank you for taking part, and I will speak to you very soon.
Thank you.
See you later.